Hi everyone, welcome to Evergreen, Colorado. I'm Brent Caslon with Valerian, and this is Tyler Rosberg with Icon Engineering. We are currently at the Stagecoach South portion of Elk Meadow Park, or what used to be known as the Elk Meadow Dog Off-Leash area. This popular park was opened in 2001 and quickly became the premier dog park on the Front Range. The site is 107 acres in total and was fully open for use as a dog off-leash area. The site is characteristic of what you would find in a foothills mountain park. Steep slopes, some that are greater than 20%, that lead down to a small intermittent stream with about 200 feet of elevation change from where we are. We are approximately 7,800 feet in elevation, and as you can see, the site consists of ponderosa pine, Douglas fir, and aspen woodland, with a mix of shrubs and various types of forbs, native and non-native grasses. Near the stream, a mix of aspen and birch, along with spruce and wetland species are noted. Also of note, because part of the site is an old pasture area, a dominant species is also smooth brome on the west side of the property. Almost immediately after its inception, management issues started to arise. This included erosion, dog waste issues, and vegetation loss.
A management plan was established in 2003 and was updated every few years as land use changed.
Over the years, fences, lockable gates, and trails were added within the park to section off areas and to help with management and movement and use of the park. This was all implemented to help protect some of the sensitive vegetation in the riparian areas, as well as hopefully to protect the steep slopes from erosion due to loss of vegetation from the foot traffic of humans and dogs. The popularity of the park grew and grew. In 2001, in the inception, there were only 40 to 50 visitors per week. The park was recognized nationally, and by 2016, of course, if you promote it, they will come, there were approximately 4,000 visitors per week, or 200,000 visitors per year. Most of these visitors bringing more than one dog with them at a time. With that number of visitors and dogs every week, the management of vegetation, weeds, traffic, and dog waste was getting too hard to handle. Traffic along Stagecoach Road was dangerous because when the parking lots were full, visitors would park along the road. Erosion from the lack of vegetation created numerous areas where weeds outnumbered grass species or left areas that were fully barren of vegetation. The lack of vegetation was also causing the stream to unravel, and head cutting was starting to occur on a stream that was only pushing 10 CFS on a good day during spring runoff. As with many dog parks that are close to water sources, E. coli is considered a major issue concerning water quality downstream of these parks. In 2016, Jeffco Open Space started a water quality monitoring program to observe E. coli levels in the surface water. In the spring, as snow started to melt, the spring rainstorm started. Levels were shown to be several times in excess of Colorado surface water quality threshold, then maxing out test thresholds levels in July through September. Samples were taken from both the upstream limit of the site and the furthest downstream point on the site to make sure that these increases were not coming from off-site contaminants. With the knowledge that the dog waste was causing high E. coli levels in the stream, a volunteer effort was started to try to clean up the waste. In one 3-hour period, volunteers gathered 430 pounds of dog waste, and this was just the tip of the iceberg.
After numerous efforts to control the management issues in the dog off-leash area, including visitor cleanup days, in early 2017, Jefferson County Open Space made the difficult decision to close the dog off-leash area.
I'm sure you remember the aftermath. It was front page news all up and down the Front Range. There were protests and a lot of the people that love this dog park still show up to the county commissioner meetings to protest their dislike of the closure of the park. After the closure, restoration efforts from Jefferson County staff started right away. Jefferson County started to do some minor erosion control work, including small soil stabilization efforts. This included wattles, temporary seed, and erosion control blanket to help triage the worst of the site areas. They knew they needed help of a consultant team to create a plan for the total restoration of the site, and at the same time started to work on contracting a team to plan for the restoration of the site.
Jefferson County selected Valerian to provide landscape architecture services and to lead a design team that included Icon Engineering and Grade Ecology. Western States was also brought on as a partnering contractor. Because the Stagecoach site is a small and fragile natural area, the restoration team adopted a surgical approach to the restoration. Do no harm and less is more were hallmarks of the restoration design. To preserve the natural character of the open space, only natural materials would be used on site. The restoration would also utilize extensive amounts of hand labor to accomplish the desired results without heavily impacting the surrounding land. I'm standing at the small stream that passes through the Stagecoach site. This small unnamed tributary to Bear Creek is the keystone feature of this open space property. We're going to take you on a little tour of the site and show you areas that were most heavily impacted by the off-leash dogs and also our restoration strategies at each location. However, before doing so, I want to provide a little bit of context on the location we're standing in. The unnamed stream that flows through Elk Meadow open space has a drainage area of approximately 1.6 square miles. The watershed is mostly forested but contains a few roads, parking lots, and single-family homes. The 2-year discharge for the stream is approximately 15 cubic feet per second. Lastly, the stream is a step pool system and has a slope that varies between 3 and 8% as it passes through the site. Because the site was largely devegetated by the dogs, bank erosion was occurring in large amounts throughout the site. Bank erosion was most severe on the north bank of the creek. Vertical cut banks exceeded 6 feet in height in some locations. The design team regraded the slopes you see behind me to a more appropriate slope. A native vegetation palette was used to reseed this area. Coir matting and stakes were used to provide initial stabilization. However, the most important component of revegetating this area was keeping people and pets out of this area during that revegetation period. Prior to restoration, the channel was beginning to insize. Years of heavy traffic in the stream itself initiated this degradation. Furthermore, the stream was lacking the natural complexity necessary to arrest degradation and encourage sediment deposition. One of the approaches utilized by the design team to halt channel degradation were these log check dam structures. The logs that make up these check dam structures were provided by Jefferson County Open Spaces Forestry Department. The logs were generated by nearby forest thinning projects. These logs are ponderosa pine and are 1 foot in diameter on average and a minimum of 12 feet long. We use these logs to create several check dams along the creek that mimic natural in-stream wood. The check dam slows water on the upstream side and encourages sediment deposition. Notches were created in the check dams to encourage sediment deposition on the margins, which thereby reduces channel widening. We have been really happy with the results of the wood check dams thus far. In several areas on the site, bank erosion had occurred in a location where regrading the channel bank was not an option because of steep banks or because the location was inaccessible to heavy machinery. Our approach to stopping bank erosion in areas inaccessible to heavy equipment was to utilize woody debris. This woody debris was collected with direction of the Forestry Department of Jefferson County Open Space. The woody debris was then staked and pinned up against the bank in such a way that it creates energy dissipation at the water-soil interface. We've observed that this woody debris has seemed to halt the bank erosion and actually appears to be catching soil and stabilizing the bank. So we're encouraged by these results and we're looking forward to continuing to see how these continue to stabilize over time. Pre-restoration, the project site had 2 culvert crossings of the creek. The culvert crossings were a remnant of a previous landowner. The small culvert crossings disrupted sediment transport and were not needed by Jefferson County Open Space. The decision was made to remove these structures completely and restore the channel in these areas. At this location, the design team removed the old culvert crossing. A new bankful channel was reestablished at this location and rock from the culvert structure was repurposed on site. At locations where new trail crossings were planned, the design team opted for a simple stepping stone approach. These stepping stones provide a safe and fun way to cross the creek during moderate flows and do not negatively impact sediment transport or aquatic organism passage. The project site contains the outfalls of 3 culverts that drain stormwater off of Stagecoach Road on the north side of the project area. These outfalls previously directed concentrated, high-energy stormwater onto a 20 to 30% hill slope, which caused severe rutting and erosion. The project team utilized these boulders you see before me to create a receiving area for stormwater coming out of the outfalls. The boulder structures step the water down in gradual increments, which helps reduce the velocity and encourages infiltration. The project team has observed these structures working during summer thunderstorms and has seen that they prevent the concentration of flow on the old trails below this site.
In the design process, it was determined that the trails were needing revamping as well. Since the area is no longer going to be used as a dog off-leash area, the non-designated and designated trails needed to change for their new use, which is just going to be on-leash dog use and hiking, as well as the potential for mountain bike use. Jefferson County also wanted to preserve the riparian area and not lead people to cause more damage to the stream than has already been done, and not to undo the restoration that was required for the stream. Because the stream is at the center of the property, interaction is still going to happen, but not at the same capacity as was before. The stream crossing is designed to bring people to the water and then back out of the riparian area as quickly and in different locations from the original crossings. A road that sat adjacent to the stream was revegetated, and a new loop trail system will take visitors high out of the riparian area, giving them a view of the corridor, but not as much direct interaction opportunity. Jefferson County is really trying to provide opportunities for interaction to sensitive areas, but they really do see a large benefit in preserving many of these areas as well. Find the balance. Lastly, trail crossings, including both an above-channel hardened rock surface for hiking use and also a hard surface on the bottom of the stream, are for mountain bike use. Great ecology. You remember them.
No wood chips, wood chips. No wood chips, wood chips.
Took great care in creating a plant list and seed mixes for the area based on soil types and reference reaches that were not impacted by the dog off-leash area. Wetland plugs and riparian shrub plugs were used to help jumpstart the wetland and riparian areas. While understanding that brome was a prominent species in certain areas of the site, we still use natives for our revegetation and are hoping that they win out against the brome, but know that it could be a possibility that brome will still take over for these areas.
Access to the stream was very limited except for an old road that existed at the bottom of the valley near the riparian area. Access to the site was achieved off Stagecoach Road and also from a back mountain road from which Jefferson County previously held an easement. This was advantageous because Jefferson County wanted to reclaim the road, removing the access that is unmanaged and used by neighbors. To accomplish this, Western States moved up from the downstream side of the project area to the upstream end, removing and restoring the old road as they went. The project ended at the restoration of the staging area on the most upstream portion of the site. When removing an old access road that Jefferson County Open Space no longer wanted or needed, Western States Reclamation decompacted, seeded, and then hydromulched the area you see behind me. This area was left incredibly rough to create micro pools for moisture to settle in to enhance seed germination during periods of low precipitation. As you can see, this area has been germinating pretty well and we're happy with the results. Western States took a surgical approach to the restoration and installation of the wood check dam structures, accessing the stream perpendicular to the existing dirt road. In order to not damage the existing large trees, the locations for the check structures had to be carefully selected in the field. Because of the nature of the project, movement of design elements longitudinally along the stream was needed in a few spots due to access, but it did not affect the design intent of the team was trying to achieve. Furthermore, heavy equipment usage was restricted to a mini excavator and a skid steer. Much of the restoration was completed by hand.
Great Ecology performed post-construction monitoring of the site during 2020 and 2021 to monitor native vegetation establishment, non-native and noxious weed pressure, and overall stream stability. Revegetation at the site has been extremely successful, and most areas are now dominated by native grasses and forbs. Non-native and noxious weeds are present in low densities but are treated regularly by Western states and Jefferson County Open Space as a part of the adaptive management strategy employed throughout the site. The stream corridor is stable, and we are already seeing a natural stream processes that and function return to the system. You can now barely see where we have plugged the wetlands in at this point, and they have had time and very good spring, early summer moisture to grow in.
One of the great successes of this project is no doubt the collaboration between the design team and the Jefferson County Natural Resource and Construction team. The project was completed as a design build with having the construction team and design team on one contract. From the beginning, the construction team helped create design solutions. Also, the use of Jefferson County's on-site knowledge was immeasurable to the success of the project. They also were very open to new ideas and allowed our team to experiment with new ideas, provided natural materials for use on the project. From the beginning, the construction, design, and ownership team worked together to create meaningful solutions for a very unique project.
Jefferson County made a commitment to the restoration of the site and decided that part of that restoration is to keep the public totally out of the site while the project was in design, construction, and for a set period of time after the construction. What this proved and really showed our team is that nature will fix itself if given the time. We visited the site a half a dozen times during the design phase and started to notice that nature might be beating us to the punch of stabilization. By the time we started construction on the project, almost 2 years after the closure, stabilization was already occurring. But in order to really give the project a jump start that it was needed, the stream work and roadway culvert projects moved forward in order to really get the site put back together and to reintroduce humans to the site after that was all restored. Lastly, one of the things that our team learned the most is that dogs and streams don't necessarily mix. And so site selection for new dog parks is of vital importance going forward.
We are amazed at how the site has really bounced back from the extremely harsh use imposed on it. The introduction of structures, vegetation, and keeping people and pets away has really worked wonders on this site.
The E. coli numbers that were found in the stream have drastically improved since the restoration has been completed.
So Brent, how do you restore an overused, overloved, overpooped dog park?
Of course, you fight fire with fire, Tyler. With TURD, Targeted Upstream Restoration Design.